Hello everybody, welcome back! Today, I have for you Clem versus Solar. HomeStoryCup, round of 8. Clem is the last remaining Terran in this round of 8. If he's out, we have a lot of Zergs left. And showtime. So we'll see how this plays out. We have Solar going for stock standard so far. The other side of the map, Clem seems to be doing the very same. Probably going to be seeing a Reaper before anything else, but it might be a reactor into double Marine. Let's see what he elects to do. This is, of course, the first map in this best of 5 series. So you either set the pace or you see what your opponent does and then you react to it in the first game and then in the next ones accordingly. CC from Clem after. Starting his Reaper. Don't see a second gas just yet. SCV Scout, actually, even though he's making a Reaper. That's kind of funky, so he wants to be sure that there's no proxy hatch or early pool that he doesn't know of. So this is a Scout that some Terrans do like to skip, but it can get them into trouble sometimes. See 4 Lings underway for Solar. He knows the Reaper's coming. Already got his third base down. And mining gas with only 1 worker. Slowly getting that 100 gas finished up to get speed. Delaying it a little, he doesn't mind. He just wants those minerals. Still has not started speed, and there it is. So he doesn't mind getting speed a little bit later. He doesn't expect to need it that early. He has, of course, seen the CC. That's probably all that he's seen. Yeah, he has only seen the CC. Reaper poking around, but these 2 queens will make sure that this Reaper doesn't do any harm to their cute drones. Second barracks is actually underway, so we might see a 2-1-1 with Stim Marines, 2 medevacs filled up with 18 of those boys. We do already see a bunch of Marines being built, so I expect that we are going to see that build. If there's a TAC lab, yes. 3rd CC as well. So this is a style that was popularized by Björn. I think, maybe it was Maru, I don't even remember. I just remember it being prevalent when Björn won his World Championship. I think 2016? It's been a while. But Marines are pretty darn good. So let's see. Solar's still mining gas from only 1 geyser with 1 drone. He's just droning up, making sure that he can saturate his 3 bases ASAP. Reactor coming down, starport coming down, so this is indeed going to be that 16 Marine, 2 medevac, stim timing push. You can use it to, if your opponent is not prepared, instantly kill them, which happens on the ladder quite a lot. But versus good players, you can use it to deny a bunch of creep, force good trades versus Zerglings. For example, if you drop in the main and the queens are not there, then the Lings will arrive first, so you can trade with the Lings before the queens arrive. And he has to trade with you because otherwise you run into his mineral line. So you can still get damage done, basically get the value for your investment into these early Stim Marines. Because don't get it twisted, Clem did invest quite a bit into making these Marines early. He doesn't have anything for them yet. They are basically only a defensive asset until his medevacs are done. He's actually moving out with his Marines already. Probably going to be boosting his medevacs behind them. Very interesting. So this hits ever so slightly earlier Because he could stim in and attack, and then let his medevacs join up a couple seconds later. Moving back for this one Overlord, and of course Solar knows, already preparing some Banes. Queens are in position, +1 is starting, or 1-1 should be starting for Clem soon. Extra barracks being added on. And as you can see, the Terran is again in this low ground spot, trying to abuse the terrain, trying to make sure there's no creep so he can attack here later with a tank push. Just kind of seeing what damage Clem can get done. It's of course kind of hard to get vision up this ramp without wasting a scan. But the creep can't go further, which is kind of the main goal of this push. Or at least that's what it seems so far. Solar, however, very comfortable, making more drones, starting his 1-1, starting Baneling speed. He knows I'm not going to die to this. This guy doesn't even dare to move up this ramp. He's clearing my creep a bit, but he's instantly re-spreading it. It's already being spread around. So basically trying to surround this low ground with creep. And as soon as this batch of Marines leaves, the creep will be spread. Now there's 1 tank, 2 tank coming in. But Solar did not elect to take this base, so it's less abusable than against Zergs that take this base. He needs to get his tanks set up in gnarly positions and force the Zerg to trade into him by attacking this hatchery. And Solar wants to wait for as long as possible, so his force is so overwhelming that the trade is as good as it can be. And that's exactly what these Marines want to force. They want to force the fight as soon as possible. As soon as +1 finishes, ideally. There's a force behind here from Solar. Again, we've seen him do this against Hero Marine. Banelings and Lings move in, big surround. The pickup happens and the tanks are left alone. They had a nice position, but the Marines could not defend them. Clem is now using his Marine force to clean up a little bit of creep, but that was definitely very costly for Clem. He lost both of his tanks and his position, and didn't even get the base. Very good patience by Solar. He waited as long as he could so that his force was as big as it could be. And then, as you could see, the fight just wasn't that close. Marine or Queens do get caught. That's not really what you want to see as a Zerg player, but he trades 3 Queens for quick respreading of the creep over here, defending his new 5th base. Maybe he'll plonk down another 6 as well. We see a macro hatch here, indicating that he wants to go into Ling Bane heavy style, adding on Hydras as we speak. We usually don't see that when we have Roaches and Ravagers. And so the difficult part is that Clem was not continuously reinforcing his forward position with the first push, because he knew that there was a force out there somewhere. And if your reinforcement get caught, that feels super bad as a Terran, because you're just losing those units for free. So instead, Clem is using more of a clump-style reinforcements, where you send them in waves instead of trickling them in, which of course has its own advantages, but also downsides. Downside being it's rather slow. Advantage being they don't die to like 20 Lings, eating up your Marines and expensive tanks one by one. Nice tank positioning, but the Banelings forced the Marines away from the tank, and the tank was actually a little bit too far forward, it seems. On the other side of the map, this Ling Bane force is chasing away the Marines. Nice Widowmine hits. Ooh, it's very hard to micro these medevacs and Marines against these Hydra Queen counts, because only a couple Banes need to be present in the Zerg force to make you run away with the Baneling or with your Marine clump, because 1 or 2 detonations do clean up your entire Marine force. There's one mine got a nice shot off. The other side, Clem is forcing a lot of APM out of Solar, but Solar seems to have his army split fairly well. Super difficult for Solar to defend this, because Clem can go to the 3rd base, to the main, and pressure the 5th and 6th base simultaneously. Also has Widowmines present, So if Solar doesn't spread his army correctly, they will get blown up by one of these cheeky Widow Mines. This force at the 3rd or 4th base has been super duper annoying. It's only like 8 Marines, but so annoying. They have +2 attack, of course. Solar's moving off a creep to deny Clem this position, but Liberators and tanks offer a very good anchoring point for Clem to fight on. He's pushing into this low ground area again, but creep is there, so he will quickly get surrounded if he doesn't look out. And he has to pick up again, and this Liberator is forfeit. Does take a couple Hydras with it. But, my god, is Clem being annoying for Solar, but Solar's army is becoming pretty darn big. He's been running on almost 90 drones and 6 bases for the last few minutes, making it really hard for Clem to keep up, but Clem is almost max, just rallying out units, just pumping them out. He's also on 4 bases, trying to get a 5th one. We're in for a long one, I feel like. They're both not budging. We're definitely making our way out of this mid-game into a more late-game scenario where both players are now maxed, tacking up, almost reaching the ends of their upgrade lines. Ooh, big win for Solar though. Cleans up Clem's position here. Clem can't longer force Solar to be in an awkward position where he has to defend this 4th, defend this 6th base, and also attacking that 5th base. Clem, that is. But Clem is not one to stop. He moves into that position once again, cleans up the creep, puts down his Widow Mines, and attacks the 5th base or 6th base mineral line. Solar trades off a bunch of Ling Bane and moves back before the Hydra backbone can get targeted down by the Marines. Very nice play. Lurker range is now underway, so if Clem can't lets Solar breathe for a moment, Solar will be able to morph a couple Lurkers and this game will look very different. We're on a nice edge right now. Solar's making sure that Clem can only attack him in one position, making it a lot easier for Solar to play this game. Ooh, mines do get cleaned up. Very nice flank by Solar. You actually want to retreat into your mines all the way. But Solar makes that very difficult for Clem, and Clem's force just seems to be rather small because Solar just keeps taking these ginormous, amazing trades, even though he's off creep. He's just rich, and he has larva for days. +1 range on those Hydras as well. That matters. We don't see +3 armor for the Terrans, and only +3 attack just starting. That feels a little late for Clem. Maybe he thought he was breaking the Solar's back for a little bit there. And again, abusing this low ground position that we see a lot on Gresvan. Very annoying for Zergs to deal with until they have a bunch of Viper or Lurker. Ling run by from Solar here. Does cancel 1 CC, but a planetary is pretty good against just Zerglings. And now there are Lurkers on the field. This game just changed a lot. Now Lurkers can hold a position for the Zerg, anchor that position, where before only the Terran really had that possibility. And every time the Zerg would muster all of his forces and overrun, he could pick up and run away, which is also very difficult now because of the Viper. Now big surround again from Solar. He's so good at the positioning on this map, and now as you could see, Clem had to hot pick up there and run away. But two what is it called? Parasitic bombs whittled down his medevac count continuously. Very hard for Clem to replenish those. He's low on gas. And now you can see that Solar's finally moving off of creep because he can just anchor his positions with the Lurker, just like Clem has been doing for the last, give or take, 10 minutes. 7th base for Solar is down, and he is taking the map by force. Not with creep, but just with pure muscle. Slightly ahead in upgrades. which you don't see a lot in ZvT. Really good by Solar. He's just resisting all of the pressure. 2 lurkers being giga annoying over here. And if he... Oh, he isn't scanning! He isn't scanning! A lot of units just died, and that's because Solar's taking away all of his attention from those lurkers. Clem probably just A-moved on the minimap, being like, oh, I'll deal with that. But he lost a lot of units there for free. Because of those 2 lurkers, and that's not because Clem is a bad player, that's because Solar is forcing his attention elsewhere. He was pushing into his 4th base, pushing into his 6th base. And if Banelings run onto your Marines, your game is over, so you have to be looking. Solar overextending a little bit here. He's off a creep, and there are no lurkers here to anchor the position, so he's being chased out by this Bioforce, shredding all of his units. And there's a Nidus Worm in his main. There are cracklings on the map. So if this one pops and cracklings come out, he can quickly start shredding these buildings, or just killing the reinforcements at least. Clem is holding on though. He has 6 bases. If he can remax and get his final upgrades, he'll be very, very comfy in this match, I feel like, because he already has ghosts, he already has liberators, he has an okay-ish medevac count, and more importantly in my eyes, the creep just isn't that far out. Solar actually using the Nidus to get a little bit of creep out forward. I love that. Nidus aren't that expensive in the later stages of the game. And of course, it's basically mental warfare. Like, every time you hear that scream as Clem, you're like, okay, where's that Nidus? Do I have any dark spots in my main? At my 5th base? Is it over there? Where are the 6 lurkers gonna run out and kill my bases or my SCVs or whatever? It's really scary to use those Night-Eye. Pew pew pew! Snipes on the Hydras. Not the best targets, but Hydras are not super cheap. And since there are no better units present except for the Vipers here, maybe wants to target the Overseers as well to make your mines more value, because he's still making those big run by Solar in the 3rd base, chomping up all of those SCVs. And now he is indeed targeting those Overseers, making sure that these mines get the value. There's no more annoying thing for a Zerg than to overrun a Terran force and suddenly have no Overseers, try to retreat, and suddenly there's like 4 mines that re-triggered, and suddenly you're just losing a bunch of Ling Bane Hydra for free. Another Nidus goes up in the main. This is again just taxing Clem's APM. Clem is pushing Solar back. Look at how far back the creep is. That's how far Clem can chase him on the map. Ooh, these ghosts are getting caught. This is not good. The Nidus actually popped in the main, and there is 7 lurkers in the main. This used to be a strat that we used against Protoss, but it also works against Terran. You almost can't get up this ramp anymore. Damn, what a cheeky, almost cheesy move by Solar. Gotcha, Clem. What are you gonna do? Also takes down the 6th base, but he's still off creep. These Banes need to get cooked connections. It's just a whole lot of Zerg. What is Clem gonna do? He's so low in supply, and he GG's out. Solar. He conditioned Clem there a lot. He was just putting down Night-Eye, putting him down, and Clem was cleaning up. Sometimes he didn't find anything, so, you know, you start paying less and less attention to the sounds. And maybe 1 F2, and suddenly your units stop hitting that one Nidus in the main, and it pops. It has a little bit of HP, but that's enough. Boom, 6 lurkers come out, and all of a sudden you can't enter your main base anymore, and all of your buildings are dying. That's all of your supply, and as Terran, it's super hard to rebuild, because you have to build the structures, and also the add-ons. It just takes a lot of time. So Solar takes the first game. And we're Nidusing our way into this second game between Clem and Solar, best of 5 series. Solar, I am honestly impressed. He's kind of like a boxer that just kept taking the punches, kept rolling with it, and eventually Clem got a little tired from just throwing the punches, and Solar got a couple cheeky ones in, and suddenly the Haymaker Nidus was there, and Clem just took it on the chin, and he was knocked out by those 7 lurkers, just completely annihilating his production. So, curious to see what we're going to see in Game 2 from Clem, because he kind of used a pretty standard style versus Solar and was probably very comfortable in that game up until the Nidus, because he had a good amount of bases, he held the creep back really well, and he was trading with the Zerg quite comfortably off creep for most of that game. So, if the Nidus didn't happen, I feel like Clem might think that he would just win that game if he didn't get cheesed by the Nidus at 20 minutes. So, it wouldn't surprise me if he just kind of goes for a similar setup this game. Try to lure Solar in a similar position, but now that Nidus ain't gonna work. And if I'm Solar, I would try to do something cheeky here. Something like, I'm gonna make it look like we're gonna play a similar game, and then bust something out. Maybe a different unit composition, maybe a cheeky Roach Warren thrown in there. Something to throw Clem off and not give him a similar setup. Make him work for it. But still, you can be confident that you'll get to fight him in multiple stages of the game, because you held on fairly comfortably as well in the first game. So we see a Reaper once again. Actually gets a Zergling. But more importantly, we see a second gas. We see a factory next to this reactor. So we're gonna see reactored Hellions instead of the 2-1-1 2 medevac 16 Stimarine drop from the first game. So this is a slightly different setup, but he can still get into a similar mid to late game. Clem, that is. From Solar, we are seeing the same thing as we saw in Game 1. He hasn't yet seen anything that will make him want to play differently. He hasn't seen anything, in fact. Clem just confirming, third base is there. Creep is being spread by the Zerg. The 2 Hellions are on the Zerg side of the map as well. Speed is halfway done. There should be a couple lings behind here. There aren't, and the Hellion Reaper just runs in. Clem kind of punishing this low Zergling count by the Zerg. But the Queens are getting good shots, and the drones have been pulled correctly. Queens zoning very nicely, and the Hellions just can't quite get the shots off. But it still forces the Zerg to make a bunch of Zerglings. And these Hellions could have been in the third, could have done a little bit more damage, but it's still just barely defending here by Solar. Really nice. I love how Clem identified, like, I don't see any Zerglings. I think you're skimping on those, and he was correct. But he couldn't quite get the punish. And now Solar playing a little cocky here, just moving off creep with his Queens. Hoping that he runs by, because as you can see, he is making more links now. So he kind of wants those Hellions to run by the Queens. Take a couple pop shots, and then get caught by the Zerglings. Bam! And once those Hellions die, damn. And he's making a lot of them. 6 more Hellions here. He already made 2 before. That's 8 Hellions. That's quite a few. And look, now he sees the Lings. But he's confidently fighting them. The Queens are not near. Oh, and he's actually getting into the middle. Nice Evo block. Very nice. And the Hellions kind of have to retreat, because once you go in there and you don't know where the Lings are, you do get surrounded and killed there. 20 more Lings underway for Solar. Crazy, man. Is he going for an attack? That's how so many Lings. Maybe he lost a few more to the Hellions than I thought he did, but he lost 17 Lings. That's quite a few, actually. Still 6 Hellions. On the other side of the map, we see 3rd CC in the front. We see 3 barracks. We see stim pack. Double upgrades are coming. And there's a bunch of lings for Solar on the map now. Again, he's like, okay, I have a bunch of lings now. Those don't mine minerals. What do I do with them? Because I feel confident in warding away these Hellions with my ginormous queen count. Solar taking a 4th base. Already has 3 bases saturated, taking a lair. Double upgrades as well. This is going to be another macro ZvT, which is an epic mechanical slugfest, if you ask me. This is very difficult to play, because your macro has to be on point, and you can't get caught out with your army, with your bases, or with your transitions. If your upgrades are late, or you forget a building, or whatever, suddenly you don't have baneling speed, and the marine tank push comes, and you just get crushed. Or your marine tank push is half a minute late. Suddenly the Zerg already has baneling speed when he shouldn't have it yet. And his creep is a little bit further out, and suddenly you can't deny his 4th base anymore. It's super, super tight. Super sharp matchup, I would call it. So we see the Marines and 2 Medifacts moving out again, but now this time they're a bit later to the party. But they do have some Hellion reinforcements, and they are transformed into Hellbats. We need Banelings to deal with this, or a lot of Queens, but there's already Banes, there's already Queens. Solar is ahead of the curve here, and Clem sees it. He's like, okay, you did what you had to do. You already have the units. They are not even in production anymore. So basically Solar was playing it safe there. But he's also on 80 drones, so maybe he's just slightly ahead of the curve, because that initial Hellion investment of Clem just didn't do that much. Clem trying to clear a little bit of creep here. Hellions on the other side of the map. Clem targets down a couple Banes. Very cool. Other side of the map, the Hellbats, except for this lazy boy, are killing the 5th base of Solar. Very nice. Sometimes you see Banshees for that, or this very marine drop, but I like that he's using the Hellbats for that, because the only thing for Solar that can comfortably go off creep right now is Zerglings. Well, Zerglings versus Hellbats, you tell me. But soon, a baneling speed will be done. There's a supply depot here, but no 4th base. Kind of a cheeky supply depot, spotting any run-by. 4th base is being built. There's a 2nd factory here, making 3 mines at a time. We do have an armory, and these Hellbats are still denying the 6th base of Solar. 5th base is now being placed over here. Oh, I love this. This is so cool. They can't ever be removed from the map until you have a bunch of Banelings to sacrifice, or Hydras. Or the creep is over there, so you can use your Queens. Very cool. Not giving Zerg that base for free. And meanwhile, Clem's still working on denying the creep, but it's so hard to move up this ramp to deny the creep. So, drop moving on up into the main base. We see an infestation pit. We see Hydra's no macro hatch this time around. But he does have a very quick 5th, so maybe that adds up. Ooh, the Hellbats are here now. No units just yet. Only Queens. Clem is trying to get his value for the Hellbats. They do have quite a bit of HP, and they're good at killing Zerglings. But they just kind of get cleaned up there. Meanwhile, Clem is attacking on the other side of the map, making it very difficult for Solar to take a good engagement on both sides. Now Solar is actually moving off of creep, thinks he took well enough of a trade that he can afford to push Clem away from, well, this position that is off of creep. And he is right. Of course, Solar has a big creep highway, so he can actually run back and forth fairly quickly. But if Clem manages to move into this 5th base, it's going to get dicey. This double prong attack by Clem every time is so annoying, and this 5th base is going to go down. Nice mine hit on the Zerglings. You can see Clem is trading with the Zerglings until the Hydras and Banelings arrive, because the Zerglings are a lot faster. Solar was trying to force Clem to engage there so he could save the hatchery, but Clem already killed the hatchery and just allowed Solar to attack him. But Solar kept attacking there because he was allowed to do that in his mind because he had the Broodlings that were also tanking. And also his force was about to join up. So it was a small sacrifice for maybe a couple juicy Bane hits, maybe a snipe on a medevac. Clem's still pressuring this base that is not even there anymore. But Solar, he's like, I have a pretty big force. My creep is out here. I can defend this. This is my area. I won't stand for this. But also because Solar just needs another base, and it's either this base or this base. Because this low ground base is even slightly harder to defend. So incredibly sick to see Clem putting on so much pressure versus a superior Hydra Bane force with his small Marine force. But now he gets reinforcement, so his force is pretty big. Probably going to force another kill on this base. He wants to trade with this Lingbane Hydra off of creep. So he kills the base again. Make sure that the Broodlings don't trigger any of those mines. Small Ling run by ready to run into the mines or backstab the army. Make sure that he gets a nice surround. Solar in such a awkward position. Although he has 87 drones, he's struggling to get a fifth. He does, however, have 2-2. He has Adrenal Glands. He has Lurker range. He has a Macro Hatch. So Solar is kind of getting up to that position. Ooh, these run-bys are getting a lot done. Cancels the CC here. Makes Clem react to everything. But I think Clem is very happy with this position. Even though Solar kind of has everything that he wants, the thing that he doesn't have that he wants is a 6th base or creep. Once again, Clem is doing a really good job. From a hatchery, he might have 1 or 2 tumor jumps. And that's it. Clem is being relentless. But, oh, look at this. Look at this. There is no detection here. Free, juicy shots by those Widow Mines. Last one doesn't manage to get a shot off because they lost vision. But that's what happens when you lay a couple mines. The Overseers are dead or are just not with that force. And suddenly you're taking those free trades to the bank. Trading off of creep. Clem trying to keep on the pressure. Ghosts are coming out. And finally, concussive shell as well. Why not? Anytime the Zerg tries to retreat, at least you get a couple concussive shots off. And you get a couple more kills. It does add up, and it's only a 50-50 upgrade, so definitely worth doing that. 3 Overseers, you can't quite snipe those down. So even though you get 1 shot of those mines, they will get killed after, and that's when the Zerg retreats. He got his bounty, he got those mines. You don't want the mine count to get too high, because then, well, good luck engaging into the opponent. No lurkers yet, I feel like. Nope, but there are 2 Vipers on the map. And now the same position happens that we saw at the bottom of the map is now starting to occur at the top. Clem is trying to get a foothold near the 5th base of Solar, but his Liberators died, his Widow Mines died. He's kind of posturing here as if he has enough, but this is quite a small army. If there's a couple Vipers here and he gets pulled into the Hydras, he might lose a bunch of Ghosts here. Ooh, friendly fire by the Widow Mine there. It does die. And now Clem is on the retreat because this is a small force. Bigger force moving towards the 6th base, though, of Solar. 7th base being thrown down. We're back in that late game, baby. Soon, I think we're going to see some lurkers being added on by Solar to at least hold these positions a little easier. Oh my god. Quick hot pickup by Clem. But Solar is on his ass. The 6th base, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th base of Clem is being denied and might even burn down. Damn, they're so close to each other. We can get the bases on one screen. What does Clem do? All these small attacking forces of Clem, it's crazy. He's really playing on a knife's edge. He saves this one Marine. Oh, one Ghost gets caught. Medevac gets caught. Oh, a difficult position for Clem to defend. He was hoping that this PF would be enough, but it isn't. Clem is sending out his army to the other side of the map, so he can't defend his 5th base. That's actually awkward. I feel like that just shifted the whole momentum of this game. Clem has no 5th base. That is going to severely impact his econ. As you can see, Solar has way more income. Ling run by over here, but Clem is kind of forcing it now. Clem knows it. Clem knows that he's behind. He did deny this 5th base again, but there's a 6th. There's a 7th. Like, Solar is so comfortable now, even though his creep threat is kind of ass. He just has the bases and Clem doesn't. Giving up this base. That was rough. He kind of overstayed his welcome at the top here, and then he got surrounded by the Lings, the Hydras, and the Vipers. And even though he tried to retreat into that PF plus 2 turrets and a sensor tower, just wasn't enough. And now Clem is attacking where he wants to be expanding. Very fundamentally sound move. You always want to try and do that as a Terran, especially when it's a PF. Because then you have a nice anchoring point next to your tanks, your Liberators, your mines, and even your Ghosts. We even see Infestors here. Let's go. Those are the units we like to see. And a big surround is happening. Oh, friendly fire from the mines. There's an overwhelming force by Solar. No fungals were used because the EMPs did land indeed. But this is such a small bioforce, and he can't stay there. Another medevac dies to the... Quite a big Hydra count. I haven't seen any lurkers yet. So crazy. Actually, Ling, Bane, Hydra, Infestor, Viper, but no lurkers. There are 5 on the map, but I just haven't seen them yet. Maybe he is pushing with those on the bottom, actually. Very cool. No supporting units even. Damn, lurkers are good units, huh? This is such a big force by Solar. If he can get a couple nice fungals, Clem can't run away or pick up the units that are fungled. And borrow fungal on all of the ghosts there. And a big surround. Banelings blow up, and that force of Clem just got diminished. Oh my god. And the ghosts do get surrounded again. That is not supposed to happen. And Clem taps out. His 5th base was under threat of those lurkers. Those fungals really messed him up. We didn't see those fungals in game 1, but they were pivotal in closing out this game number 2. And as Clem got fungled into the Shadow Realm, we are moving into game number 3 of Solar versus Clem. And Solar is in the driver's seat in this series. He's up 2-0 versus Clem. And he looks convincingly solid in the ZvT matchup. Just straight up scary. You see a Terran that has everything that he needs. You see barely any creep spread. And Solar is like, hold my energy drink. I'll beat this nerd. And beating him, he did. It seems very difficult to play against the Ling, Bane, Hydra, Lurker, plus Spellcaster's composition. And now we see another different build of Clem. I love that he's changing it up again, not repeating the same thing. He's now going for this double barracks Reaper opening. So let's see if he learned anything from his old teammate, Liquid Thermi. Let's see if his Reaper control is anything like them's, or like Euthermal's control, or Bjorn. I mean, Clem's pretty good. He'll probably be pretty good. We're gonna see. Solar, on the other hand, just doing his thing. Hatch, gas pool. No rush to get that gas. Just saturate your minerals first. And there's 2 Reapers underway, even a second gas underway before the CC is planted down. So I don't know if you need these 2 gases to actually keep building these Reapers, or then he's planning to build a quick factory behind it. Oh, it's actually 3 barracks. Excuse me. 3 barracks Reaper. You do indeed need 2 gases for that. So the Overlord saw 2, but he also sees no CC, so he kind of has to assume that it's 3 Reaper. We already see this first Reaper trying to thin out the link count so that when the second one joins up, they can start doing some damage. Queen gets shooed away with a big bomb over there. Still no CC. Solar kind of knows what's up. 2 more queens are joining the fray. No third base. This drone is just hiding it up. Ooh, Reaper is getting targeted down. This one queen is super low. He's trying to kill it. Oh, the Reaper gets killed. Oh, that's pretty big. That's 33% and now 25% of this Reaper force. The queen does die, so it does make it worth. Another Reaper gets killed. That's 2 Reapers. Oh my god, you really want to snowball this Reaper force. But Solar's kind of stopping him. But in the meanwhile, the queen snowball is being stopped as well. Only 1 queen gets killed, but the second one is super low. And now the CC is being built. The factory is being built. And there's even a marine underway. Solar retreated as soon as he saw, okay, speed is done. That's a lot of lings. I don't want to be here. Third base is plonked down for Solar. No gas is being mined. It's just drones, drones, drones from here on out. Drones and queens. Probes and pylons, drones and queens. A lot of lings though, but all he can really do is deny a third base. 2 reactors underway. And a tech lab in the main. So he will be swapping one of those out to make sure that he can get a bunch of Hellions added on to this Reaper force. And then he can move out again. We also see a starport being added on another reactor, so I expect there to be another heli or a marine stim medevac follow-up with Reaper helium pressure before that. I wonder how many Hellions he's going to make. Probably 4 to 6 is enough to kill any amount of lings, really, with that Reaper frontline. And how is Solar going to respond? I imagine just lots and lots and lots of queens, because otherwise you'd have to go into roaches, and that is kind of uncanny. Reaper Hellion moving around the map and actually checking for a third base here, but not finding one. Very nice Overlord spread by Solar, as you can see on the map. Clem can't get in without Solar knowing where he is. This is so important versus such a build with a lot of Hellion Reaper. If they get into a base without you being in position, you're gonna lose a bunch of drones. Baneling Nest now underway. Couple links to make sure that if Clem gets too cheeky, but look at this queen count. Just keep your queen count high, transfuse, don't waste it on creep doors just yet, and you're fine. Preferably you target a Reaper if you can get a double shut off and kill it, or just the Hellions because those don't regen. We now do see this move out with Stimmarines and Hellions, so this is going to be a pretty big push. Is there an armory? There is an armory, so it's going to be Hellbats here. 4 Hellbats, maybe 6, are going to try and stim in for the win, but Banelings are already being built. Solar is catching on to this. He kind of sniffed this out. If you don't have Banelings here, this is so scary. But there's a lot of Banes and a lot of Queens. If he can get some decent connections, Clem is still a little bit on creep, and he picks up. He's too scared, and now the trade does favor Solar because all of Clem's army is in those medevacs. He does manage to unload further away from creep, but Solar achieved his mission there. He put down his 4th base, protected his 3rd base. He has enough queens to hold, and he has enough Ling Bane coming out to eventually overwhelm this force and chase him off his side of the map. Baneling speed underway. 2 Evos now coming up. So Solar did delay those a little bit because he knew he needed those Banes out quick. 2nd force by Clem out on the map. Marines with some leftover Reapers Still pressuring the third base. Oh my god, the trades. And a hop pickup, and he gets out. Nice catch by Solar. Yeah, correctly identified that there was more than 16 units there, so that the wraparound would actually be kind of worth it. Nice hold position micro by the Lynx, but nice cancel of the attacks that the mines were trying to do by Clem. Making sure that they don't shoot at individual Lynx. Meanwhile, pressuring the main, trying to get some trades before the Banelings are here, before Baneling speed is done. Also giving himself an opportunity to maybe push into the third again. So for the third time in a row, Clem is taxing Solar's APM a lot here. But we've seen Solar deal with this fairly effectively in the previous 2 games, and it seems to be working again for him. Just hold on and defend until you reach critical mass, and then you just punch your ticket to the round of 4 by slowly choking out this poor Terran player. Creep is looking very similar to the last few games again. Clem is just managing to make sure that the creep doesn't go that far. Solar's on 70 drones this game, chasing off creep a little bit again, but not allowing Clem to get those huge mine hits. Fourth base is under attack though. This is kind of dicey, but the units do come in. There's just enough Banelings to make sure nothing happens here. Widowmine gets picked up because it wasn't going to get a nice hit. And Clem moves in once again onto the third base and is unloading in the fourth base. He's trying to get something done. Sometimes he gets a couple drones. The fourth base might now actually fall. That's a big win for Clem. That is very nice. This puts Solar in an awkward position. What does he do? Oh my god, and Clem, he might be overstaying his welcome a little bit. Over pushing here, maybe, or not. He just picks up and leaves. Actually really nice. Probably got a couple queens and some Zerglings there. Oh my god. What can Solar do? This seems very difficult for Solar. Big run by, though, in the third base of Clem. Oh my god, this is the only thing that could go wrong for Clem right now. He's doing so well on all sides of the map, but his own third base is kind of getting shredded. Luckily, no friendly fire on his own SCVs. The fourth base gets cancelled again. Clem is in a commanding lead in this game. If he doesn't randomly lose his entire army to Banelings, I think he's going to win. He runs into the third base again. These Marines are super low, though. He picks up again. Does trade pretty well again with the Zerg forces. This fourth base has been started again and again and again. Hydras have been added on. 2-2 underway for the Zerg, but +2 is about to finish for the Terran, and a fourth base for the Terran is now finally underway. That's the only saving grace for Solar, that Clem did not get a cheeky fourth base up behind all of his aggression. He really invested into this aggression. And even though he got paid, he did get that big juicy fourth base to die a couple times. Now Clem is establishing a foothold here next to the fourth base. Again this game, the creep has been cleared out. And it's very hard to chase into this Widowmine Liberator setup. Ooh, nice micro on the Overseer there. It stays alive, and Clem doesn't want to push into these Hydras because he just has such a low Marine count. Kind of over pushing there. Too small of a force to protect those Widowmines and that Liberator. If Clem had waited a little bit, he might have had a better chance at forcing another cancel in this fourth base. A little bit too overeager to do that, but his +2 did finish, so it was a good timing to go for that. Fourth base being established for Clem, and a fifth base right away. He feels like he has it all, and he can do it all. He feels like he's got the momentum, but Solar is taking a 5th base rather quickly behind this and has some creep to defend it as well. Can't say the same for this 4th base. Another force joins up with this 4th base. And it's a pretty big force, but on the same time, the 3rd base of Clem is being vacated. Because this big Zerg force just forces a base race. 4th base of Solar is dead, but a new 4th base has already been established. Whilst the other 4th base of Clem is also being threatened, but can't be defended, where Solar actually does defend. Gets on top of the Terran army because Clem went too fast. And all of a sudden, Clem... his bases are in shambles. He had to retreat. He pushed onto creep a little bit too fast. Both players are now on 4 bases. It's a scrappy one, baby. Clem is getting his upgrades, though. If this +3 can finish, it's going to be really good. He can't mine from his 3rd base right now, but he is trying to reestablish it. PF is almost done. But now a Ling run-by is doing some damage. Banelings run in. Oh my god, the SCVs! No, the SCVs! They are in peril. They will die. The army has to retreat, and that's going to be a lot of SCV kills. 15 SCV kills, but the 4th does live. And the 3rd base lives as well. So Clem has 40 workers, but he also has mules. If he can deny Solar's 4th base here, he might still be in this. He does see it, but he's chasing a Zerg army off creep. But it's a lot of Hydra Ling, which do fairly okay versus small Terran forces. And now he has to drop his forces again. Kill these Zerglings. No Zerglings allowed in my 3rd base. And +3 is about to finish. That's going to be a really good timing for Clem to trade with this army. But if these infestors pop, then it's going to be difficult for Clem to keep doing this retreating and retreating and retreating and just trading out big or small Ling run-by into the main, get a couple SCVs. Oh, and Clem's force is just small enough that he can't quite overwhelm this Ling Bane Hydra force of Solar, and there's infestors are in the back. No energy for fungals just yet. Clem hasn't seen them probably. Not yet. So they could be a surprise. I think he will see them right now. He has seen them, I think. So he'll know to avoid the infestors. He sees a bunch of drones here trying to be transferred to this 5th base. 11 drones die. But that's a lot of Ling Hydra. Clem has to get away here. Boosts away with all of his army. 1 medevac dies. Clem is up in supply. He's up in workers and up in army. Scans for this base. Oh my god. Clem is also pushing in over here. You can't even take this base because my army is here. And Clem... oh, he does get fungled. And now you see fungal's really good against what Clem is doing on this map. You can't run away from off of creep from me anymore. Because if I get a fungal, you can't pick them up. My Hydra Bane will just kill everything that I just fungled. It is gas intensive, but Solar has enough gas to support it for now. Although his supply is not climbing as fast as I thought it would. So Solar definitely on the back foot here. Once the fungals are out, Solar can't do this anymore, but he has quite a nice position. These Liberators are a little bit too far forward, and the Marines can't stay to protect those Liberators because of the threat of fungal. 1 fungal left. Oh, and it does get sniped before the fungal goes off, but 2 Overseers mean that all the mines here get cleaned out. And this little force is still threatening the bases of Solar, but Solar is dealing with it expertly. And slowly but surely, Solar is climbing his way back into this game. His 5th base has been established, and it is mining. Ooh, medevac gets sniped with all the units in there. And Solar is actually getting +2 range for his Hydras as well. He's making so many Hydras. Big fungals! Clem, why were you out there? Even hold position on the army, making sure that there's no big mine hits. And now Solar is taking a position up into the 3rd base of Clem, and Clem can't get him to go away. There's so many Hydras, and Hydras have big range. They have machine guns as well. Now Clem steps up and there's one infestor that he didn't see. All of the sudden, he might lose the game. So he has to let that base go. Crazy. Solar's trading here off of creep, slowly trickling in links to tank for these Hydras, because Hydras are squishy. And now he has to retreat because no fungals and not enough Zerglings. He needs to go back on creep. But Solar's creep is pretty far out now. Actually pretty close to the previous third base of Clem. It would surprise me if he retakes that. If I'm Clem, I'm like, fuck that. That's too close to creep right now. Fifth base, or fourth base now, is in peril for Clem. At fifth base is being thrown down. What a crazy game. They're both on 150 supply at 18 minutes. Clem is just relentless with these counterattacks. Another counterattack from Solar, though. Kind of doing the same back to him. Solar is still on lair attack. This is crazy. Most Zergs have Hive by now. Solar correctly identifying or deciding that I can't afford Hive tech, really. So the best... Oh my god, what a fungal! And Clem really, really wants to defend this base because it's his, well, second to last mining base. And he just can't defend in clumps because Banelings, Hydralisks, and Fungal last Clem's force. He's trying to hold on, but the Hydras have such high DPS with the +2 range. And Clem has to tap out. Solar takes it 3-0. My god, Solar looked really, really good in ZvT. I haven't seen anybody outclass Clem in ZvT. This was just straight up ownage in a macro game versus Clem, who has more APM than, you know, think of an analogy yourself. He just has a lot of it. Wow. Game. Guys, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Haha. And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.